Ever heard of tsunderes? Yeah? Well, you've never seen one dialed up to 11. That's exactly what we're witnessing today. Our main girl, Aika Natsukawa, is completely acoustic when it comes to handling her emotions, and our beta male of an MC, Wataru Sajo, is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. When he realizes, after years of flirting, that Aika wants nothing to do with him, he decides to finally move on, only for that to make Aika jealous as hell. How original. I've truly never seen that before. So, being the lovesick idiot that our MC is, he spends his morning confessing his heart out to Aika as usual. But this day, when a soccer ball gets yeeted right into his face, or at least real darn close to it, he somehow in that moment of panic and fear is triggered to suddenly wake the hell up and smell the dog dookie that is his relationship with the main girl. Right in the next moment, when Aika puts on the usual tsundere front, Wataru decides she can have what she wants. He'll back all the way off. Rather than just Aika, this ends up putting the whole school's jaws on the floor, since it's completely out of the ordinary for him to spend a single minute without professing his love for Aika. From his homeroom teacher to the other students to even his own friends, nobody has a clue what's going on with him. After he gets ambushed by his friends in the bathroom over what the hell is going on, Wataru just gives them a bunch of roundabout answers that confuses the hell out of them and manages to slip away. Later, the entire school is shocked to all new levels when the suddenly changing MC doesn't even attempt to have lunch with Aika like he normally does. After getting away from that headache, Wataru's in the middle of having lunch when a whole new chick shows up. Enter the resident loli, Rena Aizawa. The conversation, or rather the one-sided yap session from Rena, leaves the MC completely confused as to what the hell just happened. The next morning, the weirdo loli even shows up in his classroom despite being from a different class, just so she can hang out with him. Naturally, this leaves his friends believing something's up between the two of them, and he doesn't deny this. Does anyone believe him? Of course not. Does Aika's best friend Kei have the audacity to call our MC a cheater? Yup. Oh, and the main girl has the stones to feel jealous too. Get a hold of your own darn feelings, woman. Later on, after getting the iciest of cold shoulders from the main girl, Wataru learns from an annoyed Kei that Rena has a boyfriend in their senior class. With that in mind, the MC heads upstairs to try and figure out why the hell the loli's hanging around him instead. There, he finds her supposed boyfriend being a total perv and talking about his type with his friends. Afterwards, he's about to ask Aika and Kei about something regarding that situation when the loli herself makes an appearance, throwing them all off. As the first to recover, Kei puts the loli on blast and asks her why she broke up with her boyfriend anyways. Being the S-tier wingman that she is, Kei pushes all of Rena's buttons till she ends up defending her ex and runs. On his way, running after the loli to comfort her, the MC runs into a whole nother girl who ends up being terrified of him and skedaddles right off. Deciding to deal with Rena first, Wataru goes after the loli and the two have a heart-to-heart about the people they like. Rena reveals she broke up with her ex because he was talking to his friends about other girls and she was trying to make him jealous using Wataru, not that they really worked out at all. For his part, the MC reveals to Rena that he's loved Aika since middle school, when she defended him from a real bully of a girl and her boyfriend. After getting rejected by her so often though, he's decided it's time to move on. Only, instead of actually washing his hands of the turbo tsundere, his beta male butt is deciding to support her from afar while still being totally head over heels for her. With their mutual yapping concluded, Rena ends up getting back together with her boyfriend, having realized she might have overreacted just a tiny bit much. As for our trusty MC, well, he's right back to talking with Aika and Kei, giving a speech on some philosophical crap that's totally stupid and gets confused looks in return. The same evening, our MC's in the middle of cleaning up and sulking over how out of his league Aika is when, surprise surprise, the chick shows up right at his doorstep. After leading her to take a seat, the two have a totally normal, definitely not weird as hell conversation that Wataru's older sister comes home just in time to eavesdrop on. After they're interrupted by her and mistaken for a couple, the MC decides to walk Aika home. On the way there, when she asks about his interrupted words from before, he tells her straight up that he's done being a weirdo and chasing after her. He even begins to call her by her last name. In true tsundere fashion, the crazy woman gets mad, insults him, and runs inside her house. The next day at school, our MC's getting settled in his new seat as far as possible from Aika when Kei decides to be a pain in the butt again. The tomboy decides to blame Aika's lack of friends on his clingy behavior up until now, leaving the MC to feel guilty as hell. Between Kei's words and some not-so-pleasant flashbacks, our MC realizes that yes, he has in fact been preventing the rest of their yearmates from hanging out with Aika just by being attached to her hip. With this realization, he vows to make things different this year, and decides the first step to do so is to stay the hell away from her, so the stench of loser can wear off. As he's wandering the school's halls to stay away from the main girl, Wataru runs into Shinomiya, the president of the school's public morals committee, and close friend of the girl he bumped into while chasing Rena the other day. Without even bothering to hear the chick out, the MC assumes that she's mad about how he scared the other chick on accident and starts apologizing sincerely. Dude has zero self-esteem, and it shows. After hearing him out, Shinomiya reveals that the wuss from the other day, Inatomi, wasn't really scared of him as much as she is of the opposite sex in general. Oh hey, she's just like me. Despite Shinomiya's reassurances, our self-hating MC decides that it's totally his own fault that Inatomi got scared, and he turns to leave after saying as much. Before he can actually get away though, the new chick stops Wataru and tells him she wants to talk about something else as well. In a quiet room, she reveals that her problem is more to do with the Public Morals Committee as a whole. See, all the members are real hardworking students that take pride in their work, like Inatomi. Unfortunately, they've got the social ability of a rock, and are often totally bummed out, and she has no idea how to raise morale. Once he hears of her usual approach, our MC decides to be as blunt as possible and tells her straight up that the others probably can't relate to her words since they see her as someone to look up to on a level above themselves. From there, he proceeds to completely rizz up the girl, spitting more game than anyone would think possible. Finally, he tells her the best way to encourage her companions isn't by trying to come down to their level or anything like that, but to simply be there for them and show that she's supporting them in spirit. With their talk concluded and the senpai sufficiently rizzed up, the two go their own ways, but not before the MC's dumbass decides to give Shinomiya a fake name using his friend's instead of his own. The next morning, Wataru's day is already off to an annoying start when his older sister, Kaede, pushes him to talk to Aika on the way to school. This makes the situation even more frustrating since the main girl is stuck in ultra tsundere mode and refuses to speak her mind. As if that wasn't already bad enough, the MC reaches his class to find Shinomiya completely pissed off and waiting to meet him after realizing that he gave her a fake name. For now, she just tells him to meet her at lunch and gets out of there, prompting the real Yamazaki to start ragging on Wataru for using his name. At least until the MC talks him into being glad that his semi-crush called out his name instead. Talk about knowing how to play someone like a fiddle. After some choice words from Kei, the MC heads to his meeting with Shinomiya with an extra bun and chocolate pie from the cafeteria as an apology and peace offering, the latter being for Inatomi. Once Shinomiya goes ahead and asks what the hell his lie was for, Wataru tells her straight up that it'd be a pain in the neck to be on the Public Morals Committee's radar, so he just lied on instinct. Yeah, fair, honestly. Afterwards, he has a moment of somewhat sorta bonding with Inatomi in the sense that she understands something he says when Shinomiya doesn't. Though she backs up in fear when he first points this out, Inatomi is emboldened by his immediate apology and sincerely apologizes herself as well for being so unintentionally rude to him. The MC doesn't particularly mind, but Inatomi uses the momentum to launch into a whole darn speech about how she plans to improve her insecurities and move forward, using the incident with Wataru as motivation of sorts. As he listens to her, the MC's mood shifts, and he's bummed out as hell by something, but keeps his silence, congratulates her, and screws off. Afterwards, Kei shows him how the main girl's thriving with a whole bunch of new friends. Something which convinces Wataru that his choice to distance himself from her was definitely the best thing for her social life. While Aika and her new group talk about her little sister, the MC ends up in the student council's room with his sister, where she wants him to help out with some of their administrative work. Is she totally dumping her work on him as the council's VP? Yup. Does he give two craps after she promises to buy him a nudie mag in exchange? Absolutely the hell not. Meanwhile, Inatomi and Shinomiya have a quiet moment where the senior Shinomiya reassures her junior the way Wataru advised her to do the previous day. And what do you know, it works like a charm. The next morning, Aika and her newly made friend group are making plans to go to her house over the weekend when Wataru walks in. After accidentally letting her usual tsundere bullcrap out, Aika realizes that the MC won't be joining them. Deciding to make the first move for once, she calls out to him hoping to convince him otherwise, but Shinomiya shows up in the middle of that and steals him away. Back in their usual meeting room, Shinomiya thanks Wataru for his previous advice and weasels out his true feelings on Inatomi's declaration yesterday. As it turns out, the MC's pretty disappointed in the junior committee member's approach to getting over her whole fear of men. Instead of using the incident with him as an excuse and hiding behind Shinomiya, the MC feels that the girl should be standing proud as a member of the Public Morals Committee. She should focus on working on herself for the sake of self-improvement, not just for external reasons. Shinomiya's downright impressed with the MC's insight at this point, prompting him to claim that he's just good at reading people since he's finally started seeing more than just the one person he's been interested in. Following the weekend where Aika's friends visited her place, Kei tries to tease our MC into speaking to the girl he's so helplessly in love with. Unfortunately, he's still determined to keep his distance, now more than ever, in fact, since he feels that it's what has allowed her to thrive and become popular with the other students. Later on, Wataru goofs around a bit with one of his friends who was part of the group that visited Aika's house. Once he's done tormenting the dude over his total bro-con little sister, the two head back to class. Right around when lunchtime comes, Yamazaki glomps onto the MC and forces him into socializing with some other classmates. In particular, the extremely crass and foul-mouthed Koga, who has no boundaries, and friends with equally non-existent filters. Before he even knows it, the topic has strayed to relationships, and both of the boys end up being teased to hell and back over their lack of action. As the conversation gets louder and louder, Aika suddenly cuts in to grab Wataru and rushes outside, taking him to an empty classroom. There, she stands over the boy with the fury of 1,000 suns, her jealousy over his earlier interaction clear as day. Unfortunately, the years of rejection have rendered the MC all but brain dead in this regard, and Aika's uber tsundere personality means that she refuses to admit the reason for her anger. Between those two factors, it's pretty much a given that this whole exchange ends up being totally pointless, especially when it just ends with Aika storming out. Later on, our MC's in the middle of agonizing over what the hell that whole exchange could possibly mean when the student council president Hayato shows up and asks for his help. Once the two are alone in the council room, Hayato asks Wataru some questions about himself, mainly to gauge his self-esteem. He also points out that Wataru's whole personality has seen a shift recently, with a constant dip in his overall mood. Though Wataru tells him it's complicated, Hayato's concern lies in the fact that Kaede, his older sister, has noticed this as well and believes that her own treatment of her little brother is what has caused this change. Not wanting her to believe something that's not true at all, the MC agrees to go meet her on the school's roof, where Hayato has arranged for her to be present. There, he confronts the bossy mean girl that is his older sister and all, but verbally smacks her silly for thinking she could ever cause such a change in him. If anything, he finds her insistence about being nicer to him from now on to be faker than a $3 bill, and tells her that the rude and unfiltered older sister who's mean to him all the time is the one he's used to and loves. So there's no reason for her to change. Though his words are actually quite comforting to his older sister who understands them, Aika suddenly bursts onto the scene from the staircase and prepares to beat the stuffing out of Wataru for being mean to his sister. Sis, read the room. For his part, our MC doesn't even hear half of her angry rant because he's too focused on something else. Did she really follow him all the way here because she was worried about him or something? As soon as that hits her, Aika's tsundere instincts activate in full force, and she goes right into ultra turbo denial mode, dropping Wataru and running off faster than the Flash himself. Left alone to ponder over whatever just happened, Wataru takes his time heading home later. On the way, he decides it's not worth the headache he's giving himself and shakes the thoughts of Aika out of his overclocked noodle. Instead, he heads to a convenience store and grabs some stuff his sister likes so he can give it to her as a peace offering at home. As you'd expect though, the situation doesn't take long to devolve into sibling rivalry, stupidity, and abuse. While Wataru moves on from the incident on the roof and decides not to dwell on it, Aika continues to be confused and unable to process her own emotions. For once, Kei decides to give her best friend a reality check and tell her that the MC has already been chasing after her for years now without a single positive word back from her. If she really wants him back in her life, then maybe it's time for her to make the first move for once. As for the MC in question, Wataru's catching some flack from his sister over his hair being dyed unevenly when he admits that he just doesn't really care about being at his best anymore since giving up on Aika. The next day at school, Wataru enters his classroom to some immediate banter with Kei, all while Aika watches without anything to add. As she looks at them interact, Aika remembers Kei's words from before and decides to try doing something. When lunchtime rolls around, Aika moves to talk to Wataru about eating together, but the MC is already on the move before she can do anything. I mean, she could just call out to him, but apparently tsunderes are mute now too. Coincidentally, the MC ends up getting a seat at an empty table right next to where Shinomiya, Inatomi, and another girl are eating together. Though he reluctantly joins the girls' table at their insistence, Wataru is absolutely floored when he realizes Inatomi's being normal around him. When he comments on that, the third girl, Aya, who happens to be an old friend of Inatomi, gets pretty confrontational and defensive over her friend. Luckily, Inatomi's really managed to grow a spine over the course of just a few days somehow, and she comes to Wataru's defense along with Shinomiya. Once they're done eating and the other two go to return their trays, Shinomiya thanks Wataru for all his help until now. His advice and insight have not only helped Inatomi overcome her insecurity, but also her own issue with not knowing how to encourage her companions. After returning to class, the MC comes across his friend and classmate Sasaki, who's currently having his phone blown wide open by texts from his hardcore brocon sister. As the two start bickering over the dude's situation, Aika and Kei enter the class, prompting Sasaki to ask Wataru for a private conversation. Over at the bathroom, Wataru nods his head at his friend upon hearing his story. As it turns out, Sasaki has a massive crush on Aika, and he has every intention on following through on it. Rather than being upset though, Wataru claims it's only natural to like someone as great as Aika, so he can't fault him for it, but he will be treating him pretty coldly for it. Talk about mixed feelings. For the rest of the day, the MC finds himself seeing Sasaki and Aika interacting more and more, and he can't help but feel a pang in his chest. After doing his best to avoid Aika's group all day, Wataru spots Aika and Kei walking home together with Sasaki, once again bothering him deep down. Later, at the shoe cubbies though, it turns out Aika forgot something in class and had to come back for it. And being the gentleman that he is, and totally not because he's absolutely down bad for the girl, Wataru accompanies her up to the classroom. There, the two start yapping about a handful of topics until Aika eventually asks who he normally has lunch with and grows jealous at the mention of Shinomiya. Deciding to take a tiny step towards him, Aika asks Wataru if he wants to eat with her and the others. As usual, this just makes the MC overthink like hell, and he ends up imagining a scenario where his presence will drive away all her new friends. While thinking of that, he unintentionally answers to Aika that he definitely doesn't want that. After that, the last thing the two talk about is Wataru's hair, with the boy deciding this is the perfect time to ask Aika what color dye she prefers so he can use that. Though she gives typical tsundere responses, Aika lets slip that she likes him better with black hair, like he had when she first saved him back in middle school. With his heart beating like crazy, Wataru picks the closest dye color he can find at the store that same night, and ends up getting it grinded into his skull by his sister. The next day at school, Wataru finds that he's placed much lower in the latest exams than he normally does. He already knows that the current situation is likely a result of him giving up on pursuing a relationship with Aika. After all, the whole reason he always worked so hard to keep his grades up was because he was determined to be on the same level as her. With his will to put in actual work completely sapped, he's not sure what to really do. Just then, Sasaki shows up and flexes his much higher ranking in Wataru's face, causing a realization in him. Sasaki's not only good-looking, athletic, and popular, now he's becoming academically successful too? That's the one thing the MC had over him, darn it. Just like that, a fire is lit under Wataru once more. The reason for it might be sheer spite, but if it works, it works. And darn it all to hell, he'll make sure he doesn't lose out to Sasaki. If nothing else then, at least not in this. Will Wataru and Aika ever go out on a date? And will our MC fail academically too? If you love this recap and want the next part, comment "playing it cool wins the girls." Also, like this video and subscribe to this channel for more interesting recaps. See you in the next one. Aika and her friends are planning something for summer vacation when Sasaki appears and asks if Aika intends to invite Wataru too. However, one of the girls assumes that it's more difficult for Wataru to talk to Aika now since she's become more popular. However, everyone believes that it's just him who's really weird. I mean, they're not entirely on, but Wataru says it's no big. Cue the harem MC theme song. Aika offers him a cloth to dry his out. When he wakes up, the teacher is already teaching a class about the third sick and asks to go to the infirmary. While leaving, dude's a massive diva. Wataru starts to get lost in his thoughts. He thinks about concepts he had before about how an adult should be, to hide their insecurities, because that's totally healthy. That thought, and nurse says that despite the high fever, he didn't hit his head and will soon recover. She asks if the two of them want to see him. They say yes, but Wataru is still too to go back to class. Wataru wakes up and the nurse tells him that he passed out and was carried there by his classmates. He asks if he has a cold, and the nurse says that when they measured him, he had a 38-degree fever. Wataru finds this strange, as he was normal in the morning. The nurse suggests that this is probably psychological exhaustion and advises him to go back to sleep. Meanwhile, Aika is in the classroom, worried, thinking about Wataru, until Shinomiya appears and everyone starts drooling over her. But in fact, she's actually looking for Wataru, and Kei explains to her everything that happened. Shinomiya decides to communicate with Kaede back to see what's inside, but Aika doesn't like the idea because they aren't allowed to do that, because obviously. They arrive at the infirmary, but the nurse, he's motionless and thinking about something. They enter the room and he apologizes for causing so much trouble. Aika says he's been acting strange. He's silent, but his headache attacks again, and they didn't go to visit him to have those things in mind. Wataru is absent. Aika has a slightly depressed face. It seems she doesn't like not having his presence in the room. After class, Aika and Kei stop by that visiting him was her idea, but Aika makes the excuse that he form of gratitude on her part. Kei wonders how Aika knew where his house student from any class can be president, but that generally first-year students are at a disadvantage. However, no second-year student has applied for that vacancy yet. Marika says that until voting time comes, contestants are bound to appear. Until then, she's building supporters for herself. Wataru reads the situation well and asks if Marika is thinking of having Aika as her poster girl. That was indeed the case, but Wataru says this is a bad idea. He explains that Marika will be completely overshadowed by Aika, and people won't even pay attention to her. Marika asks what he means by that, and Wataru, being blunt, says Aika is prettier than you, which destroys Marika. Yikes, pump the brakes on the simping, man. She smiles evilly and tells him to apologize, this way now. Kei says that the way he said it and the After the class, he heads to the cafeteria immediately to do what only he knows how to do. As he looks for an empty table, Yu calls him from outside alongside her clique, and he goes to sit with them. He wonders why Yu called him, saying he doesn't think they have gotten friendly enough to relate like that already. Shinomiya then reveals that Yu called him so they could ask if he would like to join the Morals and Discipline Committee, shocking him. Really? Him? He humbly declines, stating that he doesn't have what it takes to adopt that role. Damn right he doesn't. Shinomiya tells him that she'll soon retire from her position as the chair, but they've been unable to recruit any boys from the first and second year students. She further says that his face came to mind when she thought about it, and she wants him to support the committee just as he did when she came to him for advice. He's surprised at the reasons, as he's never been sought after like this before. While he gawks at this, Yu grabs his hand affectionately, shocking him, so he gore. In class following that, the teacher asks for help with the school visit tour during the summer break, but of course, nobody volunteers. She decides to narrow down the choice of candidates by calling out the laziest that they play rock, paper, scissors to select the candidates. Wataru quickly wins against his opponent Tabata, but Tabata is sad because he has to juggle it with his cram school. Natoa also wins her part of the game, which makes her and Tabata the volunteers for their class. However, on seeing this, Sasaki tells Tabata to switch with him, since he doesn't want to do it anyway, so he can have his shot at being close to Aika. The class ends and Kei teases Wataru that it could have been him and Aika, but apparently he doesn't give two craps about it. The copium is crazy. Wataru starts working at a used bookstore since it's now summer break. One afternoon, while he's cleaning the store, he sees some ugly weaklings bullying a little boy, so he immediately goes to save him. He puts a call through to the boy's home, and his sister soon arrives to pick him up. On seeing her, the restless loser begins to feel butterflies in his stomach, as he immediately gets attracted to her beauty. What a Wataru, I mean. She thanks him and tells her brother that he's been saved by a nice young man, making Wataru blush. The following day, while Wataru talks with Kaede, she tells him that she heard about his invitation to be a Morals and Discipline Committee member and asks if he's really going to join. He replies that there's no way he's gonna do it because the burden of responsibility will be too heavy for an irresponsible idiot like himself. Upon hearing this, she invites him to join the student council, shocking him. She further states that she'll soon be stepping down and doesn't want to hand over the role to someone incapable. Wataru instantly thinks about Marika and says he is a nobody, but she tells him he is good at administrative stuff. However, he's still skeptical about it, and Kaede tells him she's serious anyway and wants him to think about it. Later that day, at the bookstore, while he does his work, the little boy's sister from earlier, also named Sasaki, appears, and they successfully waste their time on boring conversations no one cares about. She soon prepares to leave, but before leaving, she gives him a gift. Later, when Wataru opens his gift, expecting it to be something huge, he's disappointed to find a pocket square scarf with sharks, which leaves him wondering if he seems like a child to her or something. Weirdo really expected a freaking promise ring after one semi-date. Wataru and the girl he met at work, Sasaki Fuka, a sudden wind hits them both and Sasaki sees that he's really using the gift he received from her. Wataru says that it's because it was a gift from her so he wants to use it, which makes Sasaki happy. She reveals that the choice of print was in accordance with the personality she perceived in him. Oh my god, she's an astrology chick. Run, Wataru, run! The next day, the girl is back at work, and Wataru says that it's comforting to have her presence every day. It seems that the times of him chasing women are over. Now they're the ones chasing our loser MC. Or that's what his dumbass thinks at least. He praises Sasaki's wrist accessory, and she says that her father made it. Wataru is soon impressed with the fact that he's met a university student who is on good terms with her father, as his own sister is not like that. The girl says who asks the name of the place. Sasaki immediately leans against him to look at the location of the shop on her cell phone, and he says he thinks it's quite stylish and decides to go with her. While he's with this girl, Wataru is already thinking about another one, Aika. He's in doubt about the gift he should give for her birthday, but then he comes present special. Sasaki begins to show a certain shame in people noticing the two of them, and Wataru asks if it's embarrassing to think that they might be a couple. Turns out though, Sasaki was just embarrassed about her outfit, saying that she usually wears this type of clothing just with him or when she's not in a school, that it would be the clothes from when she was a child. Wataru asks if people usually recommend that she wear other types of clothes, and she says yes, but she would go to enjoy the ocean, but on the way they pass in front of Wataru's house. Kei has the idea of asking him to tag along, but no one answers when they ring the bell, so it's just the three of them after all. Meanwhile, Wataru is on his date, all shy and not knowing exactly what to say. Sasaki teases him, asking if he's looking for girls in swimsuits, but he gets scared and starts to explain himself, something he knows how to do very well. Sasaki laughs and asks if he often comes to the ocean. As we already know, the guy until recently was a creepy stalker with no friends, so his answer is that he hasn't done that in many years. They decide to go for a walk, and Sasaki takes his arm, accidentally brushing her against him. Wataru is startled and Sasaki apologizes. They decide to walk and avoid more sexual moments, and Wataru takes a good look at Sasaki, seeing her extra fluffy fun bags bouncing around. He concludes that college girls are really amazing. Preach, brother. They arrive at the store, and Sasaki already seems to know the owner. The shop owner asks if the boy accompanying her is her boyfriend. Wouldn't have much money to spend on that kind of thing. They look at even the most humble shells, and then he decides to assemble a necklace. He asks Wataru what jewel he intends to assemble, but he still has no idea. In his thoughts, he wonders what would be the ideal jewel for him to present to Aika. God damn it, man, focus on the college girl. Sasaki notices and asks if it would be a present, getting excited thinking it might be for her. Wataru makes the excuse that it would be a present for an acquaintance who is having a birthday. The owner then presents a table where he can choose the accessories to assemble his jewelry. Sasaki takes a pink shell and suggests Sasaki asks if the gift would be for someone he likes. Seeing no way out, he speaks the truth, saying it's for a girl who did not reciprocate his feelings. Jesus Christ, he's so stupid, I can't. He tells his story, explaining how he started to fall in love with Aika but was soon rejected. He says it's not all bad because he improved in his studies because of her, and giving this gift is just a token of gratitude. If Aika even just smiles, he will be satisfied. He decides not to stall and stops trying to choose something perfect, because the important thing at the end of the day is that he's giving her a gift. Meanwhile, the others are having fun playing volleyball, and her sister. However, the girl in the painting is actually her from when she very recently visited the shop with her father. Analyzing her outfit in the photo, Wataru asks if she enjoys cosplaying, but she reveals not knowing Sasaki's real age until now, and takes it out on the shell. Way along to support him. Wataru apologizes for taking too long, but Sasaki says she doesn't have a problem, she's actually having fun. However, having a relationship with. Even Wataru can't understand the reason so well, but thinks that if it's for the good of the other person, he should at least make an effort. He says that when Sasaki falls in love, and Wataru says that it wasn't such a nice experience in his case because it's yet to be reciprocated. Speaking of his unrequited love, Aika and the others appear in the store too. They take a look at the jewelry, and Aika's little sister notices a painting of Wataru and Sasaki on the wall. When they leave the store, and Kei is already kind of mad because they went to the trouble of going to his house, and next thing you know, the guy is already there. Kei jokingly says that he might be on a date, but Aika rejects this time for him to finish his jewelry piece. But he says when he opens it, he sees he's in a group. Wataru asks his boss at the part-time job what he could do when his summer vacation is over and he can no longer work. The old man, with great tranquility, says that he'll hire him permanently. Wataru notices a sign at the entrance of the place, and Wataru's enthusiasm is monstrous. What could possibly be better than a minimum wage job? That's sarcasm, just to be clear. As he leaves the owner to take care of things, someone comes into the shop, and he turns to see a girl he recognizes from school. She used to sit next to him and was the typical quiet, shy girl. Please don't be a childhood friend, we've got enough cliches already. Wataru immediately asks if she needs anything, and the girl says she saw the recruitment sign. Wataru can't help but wonder if the girl would be okay working there, so he goes to talk to the owner. Surprisingly, the owner asks her to come see her. Wataru starts listening to their conversation, but the lady tells Mina it would be good for her to cut off her fringe so she can work better. Even Wataru agrees that it doesn't look good, but feels it's hard to say anything. When the lady offers to cut it and pulls out the scissors, Wataru intervenes, wanting to save Mina. The lady explains she was just talking about work, and Wataru tries to help. He asks Mina if, when she reads books, her bangs get in the way, and what she does about it. Mina asks since this is the first time he's actually seen her face. The owner accepts this and lets her work like that. Wataru then says he looks forward to working along with someone so slow. The owner arrives full of energy, tells Wataru he's leaving Mina in his hands, and asks him to teach her hard work without getting any funny ideas. Wataru starts by style whenever she comes to work. They need to look at the books sold yesterday and tidy the shelves. She responds by nodding, but Wataru tells her she must respond with words when she's dealing with a customer. Dude's an introvert's natural predator. Wataru sees Mina stretching to reach a book and tells her they have a ladder for cases like that, but she insists she can get it. Wataru warns her about tripping and falling, asking if she would want that, but she coldly denies it with a disgusted face. Wataru brushes it off, thinking he just needs to teach her how to deal with customers. He tells her to stay at the cash register and watch closely. He gives her a badge that says she's in training. She doesn't take it well, so he changes the subject, telling her to talk to him if there's something she doesn't understand. He feels they're not getting along and tells her to get used to it little by little. Brody does not know how to deal with her. There will be people just passing by looking around. He asks Mina to stay at the checkout and watch. When he corners Mina with his talk about musical work and art, Wataru intervenes, saying that Mina is not suitable for this kind of work. The owner appeals, saying that the bookstore is where Mina feels good. Wataru is incredulous but decides to try to resolve it. He approaches Mina, finding a lady giving her a lecture. Wataru reminds the lady about her book and takes Mina away. He sits next to her, talking about the customer from before and asking if she agrees he is a strange person. He says dealing with customers is hard, and there is no right way to do it. He asks if she can show she is capable of this job. She gets nervous, and he says if she can't, she might have to settle for her parents' allowance over the pay from this job. Realizing he was too harsh, he apologizes and asks if she's willing to deal with customers. He thinks it might be better if she just returns as a customer, but Mina denies it, saying she doesn't want to give up. She starts talking loudly and crying, begging him not to make her give up. Wataru tries to calm her down, telling her to lift her head. She does so suspiciously. God help me, she's just as much of a drama queen as him. The boss arrives and Wataru tells him that Mina will do her best for the shop. The boss is happy and sends them away. Wataru thinks the day's work still needs to be done, but tells Mina to leave it for tomorrow. Communicative, helping with homework. Wataru almost pats her on the head, thinking she looks like a kid sometimes. A customer walks in and drops a book at the register, and Mina manages to attend to him well. Mina says she watched videos on how to serve well and studied. Wataru is impressed and praises her again. She goes to put things away in the back of the store, eating there too. Wataru thinks Mina really doesn't want to give up, but wonders why she's so into the job. During a break, Wataru awkwardly brings up the subject of why she wants to work there part-time. Mina says she wants to become independent and separate from her brother. She mentions he's on the committee, and Wataru starts to remember him. He realizes the conversation is leaning towards family affairs, as Mina talks about how much she loves her brother. She says she loves reading with him, sitting on his lap, and using his belly as a support. That's fine, but she said that a little too weirdly. Wataru thinks that would be relaxing and cute. Of course he does. Mina continues, saying that one day her brother took a woman home, and their time together lessened significantly. Wataru thinks he shouldn't be hearing this, but wants to continue anyway. Mina narrates ran to her brother's room. And, well, you get the idea. What do you think will happen next? Will Wataru and Mina develop a stronger bond at work? How will Mina's relationship with her brother evolve? And what about Wataru and Aika? We want to hear your predictions. Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, sing part 3 below. Your support means a lot to us, and we can't wait to bring you more exciting anime stories. See you guys in the next video.